Hey guys, welcome to our first live stream. Just bear with me for a minute while I get myself a little situated with the camera. Got the chat going. It's great. We have as our moderator El Perro Loco 845. He is here to help with any of the questions that come in. If you have any questions that I may have already posted a video on, he will be there to go ahead and put in the chat the links to those videos so you guys can get those a little more in-depth information. So wrong camera. Huh? Oh, looks like we had a little technical difficulty with the camera. Got that fixed. Okay. So let's get right into it. We're going to discuss the 3 most common questions that I get from new gardeners and some advice for budgeting to get your garden started or to keep your garden going so that you don't have to break the bank or burn holes in your wallet, because nobody really wants to do that. So the first question that is most oftenly asked is, how often should I fertilize my plants? Now, that would depend on what type of fertilizers you're using. If you're using an organic fertilizer, that's going to be a lot different than a chemical fertilizer. And things like worm tea and worm castings, you can pretty much use as often as you like. Me personally, I tend to side dress with my worm castings about once a week, as long as I can get to it. And I'll use my worm tea. I throw it in my watering cans and use it once, twice a week. You can do it as often as you like, really. Also, with the chemical fertilizers, they will have the information on the back of the package or bottle or whatever it is that you're using. You want to follow those instructions to a T. You do not want to over fertilize your plants, especially with a chemical fertilizer. That is very important. You do not have to do completely organic. I prefer to do organic. I do have organic fertilizers that I use, but I also have some chemical fertilizers if I do have to use them. And when they need to be used, I make sure to follow the instructions and fertilize properly. So, with that being said, let's get on to the next question. The next question that I get asked more often than not, and it's quite surprising, but what is the difference between an annual and a perennial? And despite the name, you would think an annual would, be the one that comes back every year. Not the case. The annual is the one that's going to last you for that year or that season and then go kaput. A perennial will come back every year or every season that it grows. Like if it's a spring crop, it will come back every spring. If it's a summer crop, it will come back every summer. So those are the differences there. Pretty straight and simple. So let's get on to the third and final most common question, and that is, what is the difference between organic seeds and conventional seeds, and do they need to be treated differently? Well, the difference between the organic seeds and the conventional seeds is that organic seeds are grown in fully organic conditions with a focus on the soil, the fertilizers, as well as the pesticides. There are absolutely no chemicals used in the plants that produce those seeds, whereas conventional seeds have the chemical fertilizers or pesticides. But as far as treating them differently, in order to keep them organic, they need to be grown in those organic conditions with only organic fertilizers, organic pesticides. Like I did a video on pest control. It was my tip of the week to keep it cheap on pest control. I don't know if you can find that link and pop that in the chat. it would be in the tip of the week to keep it cheap playlist, and we can post that up in the chat. He'll get that up in there so that if you're watching the replay, you can go ahead and watch that. Those are some options of pest controls that are fully organic. You do not need to buy any sprays. You can just use mostly household items. You really don't even need to buy much. So those are the differences with those. Those are those questions. Let's just take a look here real quick. No, I do not have any questions. So let's just get into the next part, which is some budgeting advice. Now, this is going to be for starting and maintaining your garden. And I know how hard it is when you're on a very, very tight budget, how difficult it is to start a garden and to keep a garden, because it is just as difficult to get your money together when you have a lot of other things that you need to spend your money on. But if you set aside, thank you for putting that up there. Appreciate that. So when you're getting your garden started, it does, they do cost a lot of money for the soils, the potting soils, all of it. My recommendation for soil, to keep it cheaper, is to go ahead and buy garden soil, even for containers or raised beds. Buy the big bags of the garden soil and then get yourself a smaller bag of some topsoil or some potting mix and combine them, and you have perfect container potting soil. Besides which, I have behind me here in my squash planter is actually all garden soil, which is mostly made up of wood chips. These will break down and compost and act as a wonderful fertilizer for those plants in the future. You can actually even grow with just straight wood chips. Cedar is the best. So, yes, you can just buy mulch and grow in that. Granted, you're going to have to water a lot more often, but it can be done, and it is a lot cheaper. It definitely is. And you don't need to buy the big brands or anything like that. You can buy the off brands. You can go discount shopping, sale hunting. It definitely helps. Another thing that you can do to really save on money, and I did mention this in another video about getting your seeds for free. If you are at this point in time already buying any kinds of fruits and vegetables, take those seeds out. Take out 5 or 10 of them and plant a couple, and then save the rest of them to plant in the future. And you've got your garden started practically for free. Another thing that's great is that you can have compost for free. And compost is the most amazing fertilizer and component. It is a staple for every gardener's garden. If you ask anybody who gardens, they will tell you how much they love compost. So, and that is something that you can do completely for free. I also did a video on that. I know I'm making you do some work, but if you could get that link and post that up in the chat for the free making compost for free. I can't remember the name of the video off the top of my head, but it was the composting video. It's all 100% free. You get those store ads in the mail. There's one of your papers. You dry leaves. Okay, I don't have a yard. My grandmother does. I go to her house and collect her dry leaves. And if I can't go to her house, I go to a local park with some grocery store bags and go ahead and just fill them up. Why not, right? It works because you need these things. And what we decided to do was to give myself a very, very small budget and see how much I could grow with that small amount of money. And with less than $200, I am growing so much food. I will be able to feed my family of 5 year round just from my garden. And that has to be the most amazing feeling in the world. And it's wonderful. As soon as you get to take the first bite of your first fruit or your first vegetable that you grew yourself, it is just an amazing feeling, and to see the look on your family's faces when they get to eat it and they love it and enjoy it, and you really get to enjoy the fruits or the vegetables of your labor, it's just fantastic. There's really no better feeling. So I really encourage you all watching this. If you haven't started your garden, please get it started. And if you have it started, just keep it going, and you can even keep it going year round. Follow our channel. Yes, we are in New York, but yes, we do garden year round. We will be bringing plants inside. We will have some out here in a greenhouse, and we will have our wonderful peppers, our tomatoes. We'll be eating those fresh off of our plants in January when it's freezing and there's snow and ice everywhere. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And I definitely encourage you all to do it. It's fantastic, it's healthy, it's great for you, and it's great for your family. And if you missed this live stream, it was our first live stream. It was kind of last minute the way we decided to do it. But we will be doing this every single week right around this time. The time may change, but it will be every Wednesday afternoon. And we will be taking any questions that anyone has, mostly about gardening. And we will have new topics every week. And I think that's all I got. I hope you enjoyed our live stream. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and click that button. Make sure you ring the bell. If you enjoyed this, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. And we'll see you next time.